Hi, this is Alex Levin. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Regal, and I'm here with my co-founder, Rebecca, and we're going to talk about 15-minute founders. So today we wanted to chat a little bit about what happens as your company starts growing and you launch a new product. So we have, for instance, in our case, an original product we built, which is typically called contact center software, and is the software human agents are using in a contact center. And we always knew eventually as our AI agent capabilities got better, we wanted to launch autonomous AI agents so that we could have a blend of them, our customers using human agents and using AI agents. But right now, our contact center software for human agents is much more mature. It's still a startup, but it's much more mature, much further along. We have an existing team, and our AI agents, it's much more like a 0 to 1 exercise all over again. So, Rebecca, as we started thinking about this last year, I mean, what are some of the sort of, I guess, important conversations we had to set ourselves up for success as we started launching a completely new product?
So I think some of the questions we wanted to ask ourselves is what would it be like if we were a brand new startup and this was our only product that we were launching? How would we do that successfully differently than how we would do it if it was just another product line at our current company? Because we always say the advantage a startup has versus a bigger company is that it's the only thing they're focused on. They have nothing to lose if they mess up or no current revenue to mess up. And so we wanted to put ourselves in that mindset of acting like that and making sure we weren't becoming the big company who was going to go about it the wrong way. So some of the things we talked about were one is like, how do we shift the culture and mindset of the team that is working on this product so that they feel like it's the beginning again and it's early days and they're prioritizing the right things. A second one we talked about generally was just like org structure. Who are the right kind of people and who do they report to and what does it look like for that team? What's the composition of it to work on this really effectively? What are the incentives for that team? And that's kind of like from an org perspective, some of the things we thought about. I mean, certainly on go to market, we also had other ideas as well.
Yeah, on the go-to-market side, I'd say some of the conversations we had were, how much are we going to be able to sell this product to our current customers? How much are we going to sell it to new customers? Is it the same ICP? Is it the same buyer even? What is the value proposition? What is the market position? Are we going to be selling both products to somebody, or are they going to buy only one or the other? And so, I think back to really it's a year ago basically, and like that's where we were. And so it's fun now to like look back at all of that and see sort of what we've done well and what we've done badly. So maybe let's start with the org conversation. So we historically have a pretty traditional B2B org. We have sales and the revenue operations. We have an implementation team, a customer success team, a support team, a product and engineering team, all that have built this platform, again, that we originally were using mostly for human agents. I think one of the challenges from the very beginning was, well, we need some product and engineering, we need some CS, we need some sales, we need some from, so what do? Do we pull them completely out of that other org and do it completely on the side separately? So, it runs on its own. Or is it better to sort of create a matrix organization where they're still in that organization, but they're maybe working part of their time on this product? So, in our case, obviously we chose the latter at the beginning. I mean, now reflecting on it a year later, like, do you think that was the right decision, or would you have sort of moved fast or even to a model where it's completely separate?
My answer is I always would have moved faster in hindsight. I don't think I've ever given a different answer to that. But yeah, I mean, so anyone who's been to business school knows Clayton Christensen, right? In this disruptive innovation, you want to take something and completely separate it, especially if it's going to cannibalize any of your existing business, because otherwise the incentives are wrong. And so I think for us, like initially, like the AI market was so unclear and so moving so fast, et cetera, it felt very drastic to go make that change too quickly. I think now we're closer to that, right? Like we're like I as the founder am leading right all of the product and engineering around this team. You as the founder are leading all of the sales and go to marketing really around this team. And so it's much more of that model where it feels like very separate. What's challenging in our business is that AI agents, while it's a new product line for the last year, it still makes use of the full platform we've built over the last 4 years. And so fully separating those teams out and like literally with a wall between them never talking would be a bad move because we wouldn't be leveraging the operating system that we've created, which is valuable for AI agents. So I think we
Yeah,
came out.
literally, it wasn't possible for product and engineering. It was the point
Right.
you always made for me. Like you literally every feature that we have for human agents, you want for AI agents, and you don't want to have to rebuild it or do it wrong. So you're going to have to build it within the platform we have.
Yeah. So I think we went in an in between state, and I think we're now closer and closer to saying, like, at least for go to market and sales, et cetera, like we're starting to run that like more separately, and it has founder leadership again, which was like the really big change that we made. Like ICs didn't used to report to us on these different teams, and now like whether it's exact reporting lines or we're in their business every day, like they know we're leading this, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I remember talking to a founder who, when they wanted to start going more into AI in a different industry, but like an AI agent for that industry, they completely separated the team. And regardless of the sort of point on engineering, they then found that it was really hard for them to actually get any motion internally because it didn't have enough founder support. It didn't have the support of any of the other teams. It was so far off to the side. So doing it too early can be a mistake. If you're going to separate it completely, it's not necessarily like the right thing to do. And in our case, I think, yeah, the part that feels the best to me is now with you and I basically saying, okay, we have the core business and that operates a certain way and that is going to continue operating, and that product will continue being sold. But we are going to take ownership individually back like it was when it was like, a very 0 to 1 startup. And I'll be on every sales call. You'll be on every product call. And that will allow the level of innovation and acceleration that is required with the change that's happening in a product like this.
Yeah, we're also not fearful of cannibalization. Like we're actively going to our own customers and saying like, "Hey, if you have human agents doing this and it's something that would be better done by an AI agent at a lower cost and a better customer experience, let's move you to that." Even though that does cannibalize some of our revenue.
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, we're in a good situation today. We either make $200 a month for a human agent seat, or maybe closer to $500 to $1,000 a month if they're using an AI agent for the
Sure,
same use
whatever the
case.
circumstances are, we don't have that innovator's dilemma
Yeah.
where we're worried about
Yeah.
cannibalizing revenue, right?
Yeah. It is true. We're in a good position there. So I agree. Like the org was a big piece. From an incentive perspective, I don't think we figured it out yet. Like we're starting to have those conversations now. Like last year, everyone's goals were on the company goals. This year, how much do we separate the team that's working on this to have not just goals that are for the team, that's always existed, but like financial
Yeah.
incentives for themselves that are only related. So I don't think we figured that one out. So if I think about the go to market, at the beginning, I would say my thesis was, hey, we serve contact centers. They have human beings. They're going to want AI. It'll all be the same ICP. Like this is going to be easy. And of course, nothing ever is like it's so easy. I'd say what we found out is a lot of our current ICP were not necessarily, we're not bad customers for the new product. Like all of them are going to do it. I agree. But we actually found that there were customers out there who were not going to ever buy our contact center software, but were great customers for AI. So it's interesting. We're in this position now where we have lots of good customers. They want to switch from human agent to AI. They want to use our product, but there are maybe better ICP out there as net new. And that's like an interesting conflict that we have internally now. So just as a specific example, one of the largest insurance companies in the country was not ready to ever switch their contact center software for tens of thousands of agents to Regal. That was not going to happen when we were a very small company. But they want to move very quickly with AI, and we are maybe the best or second best company within this sort of conversational AI, particularly in voice. And they have evaluated everybody and they've made that decision. They are willing to go take that bet when it comes to this new technology. So now we get the opportunity to go after this like huge customer that we never would have gotten before. And I think one of the challenges that like I put on you as a consequence of that is, hey, what do we do internally when we have current customers who are clamoring for this new product and a new customer who's 100x the size?
Yeah, I also think you're talking about companies that wouldn't have looked at us before, but now are. There's companies that are completely outside our ICP, right? Like different industries than we would have gone after, but where AI agents might be a great product and a great business. And then I'd say even the buyer, right? Like you're starting to learn, or in the last 6 months, we've started to learn that sometimes it is the same buyer, the contact center buyer, and sometimes it's a potentially more technical buyer, like a CTO or a product leader or someone like that, who's actually leading the evaluation on AI agents separate from the contact center leader. Because maybe the contact center leader isn't the one pulling because all the people report to them, but maybe the technology leader is the one pulling for it.
Yeah, agreed. Like I think it is fascinating that while the contact center leader is definitely part of the conversation, a stakeholder around AI agents, they are in every deal bringing in either a head of AI or a head of data science or engineering or product leader to help evaluate because they know this is going to be a more technical evaluation and they know they're going to need those resources in order to be successful at this transition, which is smart of them. And so to your point, we then are now rethinking one, who do we reach out to? Like, do you go to the contact center leader or do you go to somebody else from the starting point? And what is all your messaging? Because just as an extreme example, a contact center leader really cares about CSAT. Like, what is the customer experience and how do we make it better? And that's great. On the other side, if you go talk to an engineer, they're talking about, well, how easy is it for me to send you data? How easy is it for data to come back? Is this completely variable pricing? It's a completely different mindset, not right or wrong, just two different value propositions. And so you have to be ready for that from a marketing perspective.
Yeah. What about the burn profile? Like when we have different business lines at different maturity, like maybe talk a little bit about like how we've thought about different profiles and making sure we are investing the right amounts in each of the business lines.
Yeah, you know this, but a long time ago, I was in a very large public company on the corporate strategy team, and there was a chart that we showed basically every quarter, and we looked at for each business the growth rate versus effectively the profitability of the business, and we'd categorize them. And those that were, let's say, lower growth but high cash flow were cash cows. Those were a great way to like generate income. Those that were high growth, we were willing to invest money in and have them burn more because we thought that there was big potential in those spaces. And if they weren't going to get there, we'd stop those businesses. And you didn't want to have businesses that were low growth and high burn, or what's one of them? I'm forgetting now. I guess low growth and low burn is also like, I don't know, whatever. You basically don't want to be in the other categories. And so like it was always sort of a portfolio exercise almost of like how much we wanted to be in each of those quadrants. And so when I now think about a startup, obviously we're much smaller, but still I think about there are different business profiles that are acceptable. So in our current business, as long as that business is growing well, we can invest in it and be sort of cash flow, break even. We don't have to be profitable there. And that's a happy place to be. And that allows us maybe to invest more money in a newer product that's growing even faster. Now, I think as the sort of, let's say the first product gets into the hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, you would look at some point to say, okay, we want to make sure that that business at some scale can grow, call it 15 to 25% a year and spit off 30% in sort of profit. If you can't do that, then that's not a good software business. Like if even at like that scale, you can't get to those margins, then you should get out of that business today. But, I think those are the ways we think about it. And so internally, what that means is being really rigorous about the financial planning process for each of the businesses and allocating people, or at least their time between them. So you're intellectually honest about it. Like, how much are you really investing in one product? How much are you really investing in the other? And not sort of fooling yourself into, sort of accidentally investing, too much in your old product or not enough in your new product.
Yeah. I think one other topic we kind of skipped over that is relevant that we did think a lot about is how do we accelerate the engineering and development? Even once we've said, here are the resources, whether they're separate or not, as you grow your engineering team, like process gets put in place, right? PR reviews, sprint planning, all of that stuff. And I think we were really intentional from the start for the team focused on AI agents of trying to go back and like rip out the process that we could, even if it means like to some extent the initial versions of things you release are lower quality or the code is separated from the current product. So it doesn't put the current product at risk. That's another thing to like think about is like, as you get to be a bigger and bigger company, you will put process in place that helps a big team move reliably well. But it also would mean a smaller team that's trying to go from 0 to 1 is going to be bogged down and slowed by that. And so like being willing to like rip that up and have an engineering leadership who understands and is willing to look at different teams and different goals and compromise those processes for each of those, I think is really important.
Yeah, and even in our case, it's you've made this point to me many times. There's more nuance. Like we have to be willing to move really fast with sort of the learning process and iteration, especially with certain customers who want to be on the edge of what's possible. And on the other side, the things we do put into not beta, but into true production have to be at the same level of stability and sort of enterprise readiness that our big customers expect, and we have to keep that separate. So like it's tricky because we're sort of in an industry where our underlying partners, so we're using existing LLMs, we're using existing voice providers, and those underlying providers are not stable yet. And so part of what this exploration has like taught us, for instance, is how do we build in understanding of what the latency is and what the quality is, and then having failovers or fallbacks in the same way we would in other products. And so even though any one provider is not that stable, we have enough that we can provide stability to our customers. So I think, in all of this, like there were people very early on, like a Verizon or something, that went straight to OpenAI and said, "We'll integrate straight with OpenAI." But what we're hearing now is actually that wasn't the right strategy. They weren't able to your point, change their engineering processes to build as quickly as vendors like us. And having that choice with one ended up being the wrong choice because there's instability. So they're now turning over more to work with vendors like us that are at the edge of what's possible and bringing the stability that they need to be able to operate this, so that their engineering teams can focus on what they do well, not learning a new technology. It's the same reason why, sure, Walmart tried to build their first website, but now they use Shopify. Walmart doesn't build their own website anymore. Like they are not in the business of website building.
Yeah.
So, I guess as we close out, like, and we're looking forward now this year, our plans are obviously very sort of aggressive to continue to get customers using more and more AI agents. And, at the end of the year, the business will look potentially very differently. So like, fast forward to the end of the year, what do you think the business looks like then, from an org perspective and customer and so on?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think, I think the majority of our team is focused on this product line as the growth product line, and not just the growth product line for the business, but we think this is where the market for contact center is going. This is the single biggest change vector in contact center, and we are trying to push the market forward to adopt it as quickly as possible. So certainly our business will reflect that. I think from marketing, it already does start to reflect like how prominent AI agents are. I think sales, like where our SQLs are coming from and our closed ops, will reflect that much more heavily. And I think product and engineering, like, well, yeah, I think everybody will be like building towards our omni-channel AI agents on the core Regal platform that we have. And I think as our customers move more towards that adoption, like our business will too.
Yeah, and I'm so convinced the future, especially for certain businesses, is that 90% of their agents will move to AI. That some customers are now coming into us looking to switch their contact center software for the humans, and I'm literally saying no, don't do that. Like, don't go and spend the next X period choosing us, rolling out a new product, teaching your people a new thing. Let's only focus on AI agents, because you know what? In 2 years, you're not going to need 90% of the current process or software you need. Don't waste time going and changing it. Not everybody. Like there are some teams that are going to have many more humans for much longer, but a lot of customers, a lot of companies, the majority of their customer communication is going to move over very quickly, very seamlessly. So anyway, with that, hopefully this gives you a little bit more idea of what it's like as you're growing to add products and be able to manage that process. And we'll chat with you again soon. Thank you.